Hello everyone and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name is Connor Chadwick.
And I'm Daniel Patton.
And on this podcast we'll be talking about some Christmas announcements as well as the Resurrection Christmas special.
And then later we're going to be doing our Q&A where we asked you questions on Instagram. And following that we'll talk about the Uncharted Past Christmas special.
So Daniel, how have you been?
I've been well. Busy as things are this time of year. Because we're sort of like building up towards Christmas holidays now, so it's very busy, isn't it?
Yeah. Very much so. This is the last podcast of the year, technically. Well, maybe not. We'll have to record the 2021 January podcast towards the end of December.
Well, this is the last podcast release of the year.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out a time to record next month's podcast because that's the time we usually do it. If we're doing it a month even from now, it's still around Christmas. But yeah, so a lot of things have changed since the last podcast. Dan, you've settled into your office now, haven't you?
Yes. Which from the last podcast I was in the office, which we had a lot of interruptions for. Hopefully, won't have those interruptions again. But also, the main thing I think we need to say is you are now recording at your new apartment, sir.
Yeah, that happened at the end of last month when, for those of you who listened to last month's podcast, when Dan was recording his comments section bit, I was pretty much in the process of moving everything in here. Been here for about 3 weeks now. It's good. It's good. I've settled in. Might be the acoustics are going to be different for a little while until I get properly settled in. There's still a lot of space. I mean, there should be space, but not empty space, if you know what I mean. But
you're still creating a home, so you're still making the apartment a home.
Yeah, exactly, and it's going to take a little while just to settle in properly. And plus, I only ever had one room of things, and I've got to spread that across multiple rooms, really. But no, it's good. It's all good here. Overton Audios HQ is all settled in. That's the main thing.
Very good. So this also marks the first. This also marks the first podcast that you're recording in your new home.
Yeah. I mean, that's also quite interesting. Well, for one, I know there's going to be no interruptions. It's ironic that we're now in a place where we've got 0 interruptions, but simultaneously. Last month's we were filled with interruptions.
Oh God, yes.
Honestly, for the you listeners, absolute nightmare recording that, wasn't it? And we had to record it early as well, which was just as annoying.
Yeah, it was just it was so, and also I had to film pieces of it later in the month for the comments section, and I had to do that alone. It was the most chaotic one. There was the most chaotic podcast to record by far. I can only hope we never encounter anything like that again when it comes to these podcasts.
Yeah, I mean that was down. Well, I mean obviously we recorded it out of order like that because purely down to circumstances of me moving. But other than that, we probably would have recorded it at the same sort of time that we usually do, just without the hopefully without the interruptions. But of course you've now given fair warning to everyone in the house that you're recording, so if we get interrupted,
I've right to say
it's not something that Dan has. We all know that Dan has tried to avoid this.
Yeah.
You should have stayed upstairs, Dan.
Yeah, with less space. But, I'm toying with the idea of just getting like one of those LED signs that turns on, says live when you're filming something. I'm tempted to get one of those with just so I can do these podcasts in peace. So everyone comes in, they see it in bright LEDs at live, and with a notice on the board saying Dan is recording podcast. Please do not disturb. Please, just please. Can't emphasize just emphasize on that, please.
Yeah. But so we've got a lot of interesting things coming up this Christmas.
We do.
But before we get onto that, I will, as I've teased you about, Dan, I will go on to a little announcement that I've got. That's a little Christmas present to everyone. It's already up online and available to look at.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Oh yeah. For closure, everyone, I have only given Dan a slight tease to it, which was it involves me having to re-upload a lot of Overton Audios releases, but it's been very quick to do so because I at the time didn't have the money to keep paying for it. But now that I've moved and have had a proper look at my situation, I'm looking at it and realizing that actually I'm perfectly fine. Not that I wasn't at the time. I wanted to save as much as I could, obviously, for the mortgage. But I have basically reinstated SoundCloud Pro.
Oh, so that's what.
So I've.
So that's what you meant. You were re-uploading all your releases.
Yes, the reason why it's quicker is because it's obviously not video. So whereas some of the audios that I've uploaded are about 1 gigabyte big, the actual file is something like 10 megabytes. The problem is, of course, that because I had to switch off the other account, all the previous uploads are gone.
So it's backlogging. It's also
I'm not at the moment. I'm not concentrating on backlogging at the moment. I've uploaded Federation War. I've also uploaded all of the Time Traveller releases to date. The upcoming Resurrection Christmas special, that schedule uploaded, as is the upcoming Uncharted Past Christmas special. And then we've got the releases following that throughout 2021. I've also uploaded a couple of other bits here and there, like uploading. I put up.
Oh.
But I was just thinking I can't go back through everything. I mean, we counted it. The other day, well, not the other day, more like probably a month ago, it's like 250 audio dramas. I don't have time at the moment to do them all in one go. So and obviously the problem was if I was only uploading things every 3 or so months, or I say that it's a very specific number, but every other month or so, I would have time to be able to maybe ease out the releases. But instead, I've had to upload them back to back, minute to minute, because ideally the biggest things that are going to be a problem in terms of re-uploading will be Resurrection.
Yeah, because you have so much there. There's because you have like 10, you have like 10 plus episodes per season on that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's about 50 episodes to re-upload, and yeah, whilst I was able to do, could so far at the moment, currently as of recording, the 4th volume of Time Traveller Audios is currently being released, and I've uploaded the first 5. So that in itself is 25 audios. That's taken me all day already. And I also don't want to swamp too many things. I want things to still be easy to find for a little bit, even though it will eventually get all swamped again. I'll put together like all the playlists and everything like that, but just give me time, even though I have moved and able to have my own little schedule, my own time and everything. I'm still trying to work on the stuff that I want to come out, as opposed to the stuff that has already been out and is actually already available on YouTube.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, that's my announcement. SoundCloud's back. A lot of when it initially got deleted, a lot of people I saw who agreed with me on the idea that with SoundCloud you could play it as if it were like I know it is anyway, but you could play it on a separate player on your phone. You could switch off your phone and save your battery rather than streaming a YouTube video.
Yeah, and also saves data.
Well, yeah, exactly. There you go. So a lot of people were asking for it, and I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days, and I just thought I looked at it all, checked its affordability, and thought, you know what, why not? I'm putting so much time into these audios, maybe investing a little bit in that would still work.
Yeah. So that's good. Having because I've been listening to some of the backlog because I also do listen to all the releases when they come out, and I often like to do it whilst walking or doing some sort of activity. Because I like for a lot of people like to listen to audios whilst doing something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's hard to sit
That's
there
something,
and
that's something that my dad would do about 10 years ago when we would just have, when I'd go over and stay at his, we would just have a lazy day, just be on our laptops or something. But in the background, a radio drama would be playing.
yeah. So it's sort of like that with Big Finish now, or Overton Audios.
But you are listening to them, aren't you?
Of course I am. Yeah, but listen, I just listened to the first episode of 2016.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's very good, sir. Very good.
Well, thank you.
Now where's Jason?
I remember you making a joke that you only listen to the ones that you're in.
No, I do listen to him. I try to listen to him upon release, but I'm too busy. I do try to do it whilst working, listening to the audios.
And also, I suppose, as well as that, I'm releasing too much.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, moving on from the Christmas announcement, shall we have a little chat about the Christmas special of Resurrection?
Oh, yes. Because that is a thing.
Overton Audios presents...
Oh, it's you.
Hello, Colonel. It's been such a long time. Merry Christmas.
There is a new Colonel. A whole new unit. Now I'm just old stock.
Get your coat.
Excuse me?
Time for a Christmas adventure. Colonel Stevenson is perfectly fit to restart work.
I am his replacement. Reporter.
There has been an earthquake surrounding the diameter of this building.
This could be an incursion.
No one can accept me here. I fell out of my universe.
Let me help you. My ship has a dimensional stabilizer.
Cannot allow him to escape, Doctor. He was attempting to attack unit.
He was scared. It was good to see you, Robert.
Why do I sense this is goodbye?
Doctor Who Resurrection, Robert's Christmas Adventure, coming the 25th of December 2020 at 12 p.m. So with the Resurrection Christmas special, it's the last ever episode of Resurrection. But it's not a goodbye. Yes, I know. Oh, but it's not a goodbye to the Cravat Doctor era. It's he carries on. But it's just the end of an era because, well, you know, I was discussing this with you back, I think it was the 5th podcast. We were discussing about how things are coming to an end, and as well as that, I mean, not having enough time, and then also talking about Resurrection, not really the title. If we go beyond season 4, the title doesn't match what we're doing now.
Yeah, so it's like with... It's like the Resurrection range is coming to an end. It's like with Uncharted Past, like that serial is going to an end.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultimately,
but it's not the end of the Doctor, of that particular Doctor. It's just that part of that era of that Doctor is over. In the same way that we all have eras, you know, like this is kind of a new era for me and my place, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Or to put like more in the Doctor Who terms, like we have Uncharted Past, we have Fractured Timeline for the Irish Doctor. So although Uncharted Past,
yeah, but I was more trying to refer it to in a metaphor that human beings can relate to.
Mm. Like I just finished university, so that era of university is finished in my life. Those 3 years were a different time for me.
Yeah, exactly. And now that you're not in uni, it's a different thing to get used to. And that's just kind of how it is for the Doctor, except more on like a time and space level. But it's because obviously the Series 4 storyline got wrapped up. It's meant to be like a nice, warm and fuzzy Christmas story. Anyway, it's not meant to be anything big. It's not anything high concept. We see basically the reunion of the Cravat Doctor and Colonel Stevenson again, who haven't actually had a proper story together since Series 2.
That is also true, yeah. They've crossed paths in the finale of Trial of Veritas when that was actually also the last time they saw one another, which was when Veritas broke into unit and basically nearly killed everyone. So this is actually set a year and a half after Trial of Veritas, when Colonel Stevenson is on leave because obviously he was in a coma when we left him, and he's recovering still.
but it's that whole idea of age and old friends and also loyalty. But subsequently, if you prefer the resurrection era, for in comparison to what we've got planned coming afterwards, it also ends in a way that you're not feeling like it's left on a cliffhanger. Like, there are still plot threads left open for what is to come in the fallout of high society.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you just think, well, the Doctor will solve it, it'll be fine. But if you want to find out how he solves it, you can carry on. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, you're leaving the door closed, but not locking it on that story.
I would call it leaving the door ajar.
Ajar.
Bit of air's coming through. A bit of air's coming through. You can kind of see through it, but if you want to look further, of course you can go and push the door open. Mm. But ultimately, the door is still always left ajar for your option.
Yeah, exactly.
We've just started talking about doors.
What material is this door? Is it a nice oak?
Perhaps. But yeah, so in essence, it is like a bittersweet farewell, and not necessarily 21 in particular, but a farewell to that era and everyone who came before. And the only person who's realistically been there the whole time is Colonel Stevenson.
It's true.
He's been there. He met the Cravat Doctor in 2019, and this story is set in Christmas 2026. It's 7 years for Colonel Stevenson, and it's still up in the air about whether or not he'll make a comeback. But I've treated it as if this is his story. This is finally we're seeing Colonel Stevenson's story, as opposed to Colonel Stevenson accompanied with Unit and the companion of the Doctor. It's like they finally have a story. He finally has a story of his own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we recorded that November last year.
You're very well prepared, sir.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. When you look at the cover art for it, that photo was taken on the 22nd of December 2019. Yeah, because it was just before Christmas Day. It was the 22nd of December last year that we met. Myself and Ollie went over to London and met up with Hugo. And we just hung out. We filmed an episode of Fragments. And then we took him around some waterside locations, and then took some photos for the Christmas special that we'd already by then recorded. So yeah, it's weird because in a way as well, I suppose this is another announcement, but what's going to be coming afterwards is we're giving Cravat a bit of a break for next year in terms of full cast audio dramas, because I mentioned obviously in that announcement that we were going to try out audiobooks. Yeah. This is that announcement back in June. I think it was June. Or but in the summer months, I announced that I'll be cutting back a bit because obviously financially I couldn't afford it, and that was down to the fact of me moving. And I certainly can't afford it still now. And
so now you've produced some for next year already?
Yes, we've recorded. We've done 4 out of 6 so far. There's 3 per volume. We've done first 2 on. We've done the first. Well, yeah, we've done 2 in each volume so far, and they've gone really nicely. It's nice to sort of work with a novelistic kind of writing. I've written a couple of them, and in fairness, the first volume of them, they're all ideas from a fan who wrote in to me straight after we recorded the first podcast. When we recorded the first podcast, he came in with these 3 ideas of something to write, and he did write an episode in a script form. But then when I decided to go into audiobooks, I thought that'd be the perfect time to adapt them. And he didn't have time to write them all, so I wrote them up from his notes. But in essence, I put him down and myself down as co-writers.
It's very cool, and it's very nice as well, like just to collaborate more with the viewers and to because you told me some of the stories. I haven't been able to listen to any of them yet, but there's some of them are really good. Especially one, I won't name it here, but one story is very, very strong, and it's very powerful storytelling.
Yes. That one, I can tell you the date that's coming out on. Oh. That very powerful story is coming out on the 11th of December, 2021.
So we have to wait a whole year for that one. Over a year.
We have to wait, a week. No, not a week. A year and 3 weeks.
Oh dear! Oh my god!
And that's how far in advance we've got them done. But those audiobooks, the first set is coming out in, I think, July, and then the second set is in December. But I just needed a bit more of a break. We have got something that we've been working on recently, which is a full cast audio drama, but a one-off starring Cravat. But that's really up in the air at the moment because we've sent off the script to certain actors who the script and the story won't work without. And if they're not interested, then we're just going to scrap it.
Yeah. So I won't say anything further.
Turn it into an audiobook. But ideally, we want it to be a full cast audio drama because it's the only way the magic will work for that one.
Yeah.
But so again, I'd still want to try and maybe aim for something like that, but not another full series again. So we'll get the follow up to Resurrection the following year in 2022.
Yeah. But ultimately, it's
not too far away when you look at my schedules.
Oh yeah, like in all fairness, you've packed 2021 nearly to the brim right now. So there's so much. To get through.
There's no moving. There's no moving it. Everything's weekly again. So it's every Saturday. Whereas obviously this year, everything, almost everything, but near enough, 90% of all releases have been bi-weekly. So I've actually doubled from last year. And I've been having burnouts and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm still pushing on. I'm still able to do it. I'm still doing it. 2021 it's been much smoother than 2020 because of the fact that everything's returned to weekly again. And obviously 2019 was a mixture, wasn't it? The first half was weekly and the second half was bi-weekly. So that was just kind of a bit, a bit of both hells, whereas this one is just everything's weekly. So, for example, we've only got 3 more releases to work on for the rest of this year now.
Yeah.
Which is a mercy in comparison to what it would be this time last year for the 2020 releases. I'd still had 6.
Yeah, that sounds more manageable as well, and because there's so much coming out. Like at the beginning of the year, we do have the Young Doctor Adventures series, Volume 3, I believe, Uncharted Past, and we have so much more. And Time Traveler is going to be a big player next year.
Oh yeah, massively. We've got obviously currently releasing. Even when this podcast will be coming out, it'll still be coming out. That volume, Time Traveler 2016, and then March next year we've got Time Traveler Earth Corp, which is following up on something from the visual series of Time Traveler and something that's heavily referenced in the audios, which is timeline fractures, and where basically 2 timelines coexist, of one where the villains won and one where the good guys won, which is the one we've been following the whole time.
Very good.
But yeah, in essence, the Resurrection Christmas special is meant to be something heartwarming. We've had such a long, not necessarily a bad thing, but we've had a very long-winded 12-part story with season 4, that the Christmas special is just meant to be something nice, warm, and it's not as long as the other episodes where they're like half an hour. I can tell you now it's about 21 minutes. It's a nice little shorter story, but it's just meant to be a nice little epilogue kind of thing for this massive story we had before. So just don't go into it thinking, oh my god, this is going to be a huge epic thing. It's just a nice little warm Christmas story.
Yeah, which is nice. And also it does it's end of year for another thing as well for Overton Audios.
Yeah,
you know what that is?
No, I don't.
The bar.
Oh yeah, of course. The bar and the cover arts, yeah, we'll not be seeing that again. That's exclusively Resurrection related.
Yeah.
But even then, when we do the audiobooks, we've well, we're changing them, aren't we? They're going to be more like how the Young Doctor and Uncharted Past cover arts are, where they're, top and bottom text.
Yeah, we've now adapted to the new design.
Yeah, basically, the only reason I always loved the original Big Finish layout when they would always do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I kept it for Resurrection, and I kept it for so long. But with the audiobooks are always a bit more of a test, because ultimately the bar would never have worked because it was only one person narrating.
True.
So we'll probably be doing that for when we do the continuation of the Cravat Doctor stories after, obviously after Resurrection, and the audiobooks that are set within the Resurrection era as well. So we've got returning characters for that, but we'll go into that when it's closer to the release. Yeah. But speaking of upcoming releases, as I mentioned, we have actually had some questions on that for our Q&A. Shall we go into our Q&A?
Yes, we shall.
Right then, so we've got some Q&A questions. God, it's been a while since we did this. The last time we did this, we were speaking for 45 minutes.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it might be even longer at this rate.
Indeed. Let's get started then.
So, first question comes from Anna herself. What is your favourite feature / characteristic about the Irish Doctor and your own Doctor?
You can leave with that one.
Shall we do this for both? We'll do this for both of us. My favourite characteristic with the Irish Doctor is he's got a very strong nostalgia element, and which is obviously that's derived from Fiona and Nathan, but he uses them as his strength. Whilst obviously the loss makes him feel weak, he can also use them in times of need to give him the strength.
Yeah,
he also needs. With Cravat, he's got I think without really realizing it, he's developed. I developed a bit of a fury sort of complex to him, where anger will sometimes fuel him.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily something like, I'm not saying he's doing something Colin related, but like Colin Baker related, but passion is what drives him. Like, he has lost people, like he's lost Julia, and he will sulk about it for a bit, but he doesn't do the same as the Irish Doctor, where he will be nostalgic and use them for his strengths. He will move on and use outrage and anger at the current situation as a way to drive him. But in a way, I kind of like that about him too. Plus his love of many cravats.
Indeed. I think I said I do love the Cravat Doctor because there's just something uniquely different about him compared to everyone else. It's just he has this sort of way with situations that he can come across as like you can tell it's like, it seems like I feel with Eggson, he makes you feel safe, but as well as that, he never feels like when things are out of his depths, he's panicking. Like
like he's very open with.
Yeah, he has a confidence to him, and sometimes a lot like other doctors, it can come across as a performance, because secretly sometimes he may, as do other doctors, sometimes the doctor doesn't know when he's out of his depth. But the Cravat Doctor has this confidence and this heroism to him. That's how I feel. Like that. Yeah, I always think about that. And with the Irish Doctor, I think the Irish Doctor is just this broody, protective Irishman, because I mean a true Irishman, basically, because we're very protective of the people closest to us, which I think what the Irish Doctor is. If there's any chance they're being threatened, he immediately just would tear us. He would just tear a person to shreds. He's just very protective of people, and especially those closest to him. And when you'll find out, like, I think you'll find out in the Christmas special, you'll see that the lengths he would go for the people that he does care about. Yeah. Just want to put my I know it was your question, sir, but I just wanted to put my part in it.
No. I said that we should both answer it.
All right.
It's fine either way. Another question from Jeevan John, 2020. He asks, what audios can we look forward to next year? Well, as you mentioned earlier, Dan, we've got Young Doctor Adventures Volume 3, Uncharted Past Volumes 3 and 4. That was announced early this year. Obviously, in terms of what else is coming up, we've got that one-off crime drama called On the Scene. Time Traveller Earth Corp, Torchwood, World at War, Tortured World at War, that's not two separate things. Time Traveller 2017, and The Crimson Hunter. Basically, we've announced in some shape or form the first year of audios already, but that's essentially what we've got planned for the first half. The second half is a little bit more what's up in the air still because we're still recording it.
Yeah.
But I suppose that question is over now, isn't it? Because I've just answered it all. Next question comes from TARDIS Glitch, who says, what do you see happening in the future for Overton Audios? Well, I know that a lot of people want me to go live action. Which is something, of course, is quite difficult to right now.
Yeah.
With how things are in the world.
Yeah.
In terms of what do I see happening, I'm hoping the audience gets bigger. I noticed that we're closer to 300 subscribers, which I'm quite chuffed with. Obviously, we've got more Irish Doctor stories coming out. We've got more Young Doctor stories coming out, and we've got some audio books, which I'm hoping will introduce maybe a new audience as well, because I know that some people prefer audio books over full cast audio dramas. I'm also hoping that maybe, obviously, despite the cutback on, I say it's a cutback on finances, but it's realistically me just trying to save money so I can live. I'm hoping that we can, obviously it's still quite early days, even though it has been quite a few months since, but I'm trying to make sure that we can still maintain our level of quality despite the fact that what we've been making so far all of this year has actually quite cost us dearly financially.
It has. It has.
Yes.
I won't go into specifics, but there is a certain story in Uncharted Past in one of the volumes that has cost us quite a bit.
Oh yes, and a lot of people have loved it, and I've been very happy with that, and it's great.
Yeah.
But obviously I want to make sure that we're still maintaining that, and hopefully it's not too noticeable when that change happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also discussed a possible, not next year, but I think you said next year, a possible rebrand of the design of Overton Audios.
Yeah, in essence, we're just sort of discussing that at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah.
But whether or not, because it was meant to happen at the end of this year, going into next, but then I was too fast at making things, and the new logo wasn't ready, and all this, so we just kept the same logo for next year, and then at that point, I think that's still a healthy 5 years of that logo.
True, that's true. I think because we're thinking about 2022, potentially this new logo could come out. But
yeah, I mean, other than that, things is just business as normal, I suppose. Next question is from Harry C. Gosling, who says, favourite fan series non-associated with DW 2012?
Do you have?
I think for both of us, I think certainly for you, it's probably MB and Homeland, right?
Yeah, I've been a massive fan of MB and Homeland. We've had them on the podcast last month. And,
yeah, we had them last month.
Yeah, but I also really like DDK, especially what they've done with their last 2-parter epic. It was very good. I highly recommend checking that out. There's so many now. There's been so many really good ones lately. Like MB and Homeland, DDK have been the outstanding ones for me.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. Next question comes from Scarecrow Sutton, and he says, Torchwoody Woodwood.
Torchwoody Woodwood.
Yes. The answer is yes. There is Torchwood coming out next year. Torchwood World at War. It's going to be making a sort of trilogy of one-off specials. I say one-off considering it's part of a trilogy, but a trilogy of specials. One called World at War, another one that's just actually currently being written called Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll, and then the final one which is called Decades and Decades, and those will be coming out every 4 months next year. They all follow one particular plot line. It's more just it is literally a plot device that connects them all together, but at the moment this is something I've always wanted to try and do, a bit of Torchwood stuff, because it's mostly been Doctor Who. So notice how we seem to be giving Cravat a bit of a rest, and now we're doing Torchwood and everything else of the like, you know?
Mm. And also because a lot of Resurrection does take up a lot of the schedule, because it's 12 weeks.
Mm.
So,
yeah,
even though you're taking yourself a break, that does free up a lot of time on the schedule for other releases. How have things been for you and Anna during the pandemic from DW Intro Edits? Anna's not here at the moment, but things have been great. I won't go into details, but things have taken a turn for the worst, but we're steadily getting better, and things are looking brighter in the world, so we're optimistic that things will get better. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this year's just been a bit of hell. Anyway.
It's been hell for us all, hasn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
Indeed, sir. So,
anyways, next question is: if you guys couldn't do a fan series of Doctor Who, what would you do a fan series of? And that's from Bo Zarek.
I like to do something DC based. I'd love to do something with Batman. Yeah. Or
interesting.
Or I'd love to do something with Spider-Man. Batman and Spider-Man have been like my number one go-to superheroes. If I ever wanted to do something with any superhero, those are the two I'd want to do something with.
Yeah.
How about yourself, sir?
Maybe, I don't know. Well, I'm actually technically already doing it. That's the problem. Well, I was doing it, and then we've just adapted it to be something of its own. But there was a series that was airing in America in 2006 and finished in 2010 called Heroes, and that was just basically about the initial premise was just like ordinary people getting powers and just seeing how they react, and then there's a whole subtext to it which shows a backstory.
Yeah.
About how they got the powers, and it's actually linked by certain elements in the universe or whatever. But I technically already started doing that when I was like 13 or 14, and then obviously adapted it into something that we now know as Supers. And obviously we finished Supers recently with Volume 10, but I'm going to be remaking the first 7 volumes because they only exist in very poor digital camera 4:3 pixels.
Which isn't great for 2020 audiences.
No, we uploaded a few clips of it, but each from the original stuff that we shot between like 2008 to 2012. But it's only got, I think one of them, the most views it's got is 50, and the least views that another clip has got is 8. And meanwhile, when you look at the other Supers volumes, they have got more views anyway.
Yeah. So
I'd make a fan series of that, which I actually have already done.
Very well. Do you have it in your head which numbered Doctors yours is? That is from that one with the scarf. I think Luke has declared. I think Luke has always said like what number he'd like to be. I think he said he was like 30, 35. I think he said he wanted to be. I like to think we're at least, because we're not too sure how far in the future we both are. We know how many incarnations are between us. So whatever number I am, you know what number you would be.
Yeah.
So I think we gotta look at this from a non-linear perspective. Just say what number doctor would you like to be?
See, I've already got a number in my head, but I've only just thought of it now in the moment.
Okay, what's your number?
No, I thought that Cravat would be a good 65.
I always found myself like maybe 42, 45.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was trying to distance it from Luke as much as possible because we've always said that, we are way in the future anyway.
Yeah, but in all fairness, the Doctor can live at least 200 to 300 years, maybe more per incarnation anyway. So, like, distant future is still doesn't really round out how many incarnations it is.
Well, with recent Doctor Who revelations, you never know.
Who knows? We'll see anyway, because we don't know.
Timeless child, sir.
True, that is true, sir. But we don't know as well if we ever are going to bridge the gap between all of our Doctors, if that is just going to be something that's going to be left open forever. God knows.
I don't think we're going to.
Mm-hmm. Unless we would start bridging incarnations, but that's a whole creative thing in itself.
Yeah.
Right now, we're very happy with where we are.
Yeah, exactly. Next question is, what was your favourite episode to record for Uncharted Past?
I don't know, because I record them in bulk, so it's not like I have a single experience recording for a single episode. I could tell you the one the bulk of episodes I that were my least favorite to record.
Yeah.
That was the second bulk of recordings for Uncharted Past Volume 3, which it won't affect the audio quality, but we had construction next door, and every time I was going in to record a single line, there was more drilling and more people shouting when people with sledgehammers bashing against concrete walls. I'm just like, are you serious?
I've had to listen to your suffering. Have you just
you've heard my suffering.
Seriously.
But I think if I had to choose a favorite episode, I really liked recording for. Actually, it's kind of weird. When I say recording for, I don't mean the bulk of the episode, because we actually recorded this segment of the episode earlier on, just because we wanted to know how it sounded like, which was the ending of Uncharted Past Volume 1, Episode 5.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because I got that.
I forget we recorded that out of order, that you did the last scene first, and then you went back and did the rest of the episode.
Yeah, because you cried, sir. we both cried.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember feeling, and like, I got a really nice feeling from that, and I got like a nice feeling that of optimism for the future, but also we know where the future is. But so it's just like, I like the feeling we had when we listened to that first scene. So I'd say episode 5 on Uncharted Past Volume 1 is my favorite to record. What was Connor's experience like working with me on Universe B? Now, Connor, what is Universe B? For us who don't know.
I've been working with this guy, Harry Gosling, on some of his audiobooks, one of which comes out tomorrow. I don't necessarily think I've recorded that one that's coming out, but I've recorded a couple of audiobooks for his Doctor Who series because he liked my voice in the trailers. And I'd be like, Overton Audios presents.
He did the thing.
So But he liked them and asked if I could record some, and I was very slow at getting round to them, but I recorded 2. One of them is Universe B and the other one is another one. But in all fairness, it was okay. I mean, I didn't work directly with him. He just sent me the scripts and off I went. So I suppose it was okay. I just emailed him afterwards and he always said it was great. So I suppose that the experience was great because it was a one-take wonder each time.
Sounds good.
I don't know what else I can
say. So you've been cheating on us with a different universe? How could you? I'll be checking it out anyway, but this is the first time I'm hearing of it, so it sounds interesting.
I have to keep secrets from you, Dan.
Why? Why do people keep keeping secrets from me? Why do people keep keeping secrets from me?
You can't know everything, Daniel.
Yes, but apparently I can't know. I can know nothing as well.
Oh. If the BBC asked you and Luke to write an episode for the official Doctor Who series, would you? And that is from Ad SS Who.
Adzu? I don't know. I can't say for Luke. I think, I don't know, I can't say in behalf of Luke, but I would certainly love to write for the official show. I would love to adapt some of the stories I've done for the actual show. I think it'd be pretty cool. How about you, Connor? Would you ever take that opportunity?
100%. I'd write. 100%. I'd write a story. It's about which one I'd adapt from the ones I've done before.
Yeah.
You know.
Thing is, it'd be difficult to narrow down one story because I like to think of the broader story. I'm a broader story person.
Yeah.
If I ever got to run the show, I'd love to adapt Uncharted Past for a TV series. For the TV show, that I think that'd be a really, really strong drama for Doctor Who.
Yeah, I agree. I'd also maybe a bit controversially, I'd want to write an episode for the 13th Doctor.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I genuinely think the candidate could probably work for Chibnall's era. I think we've said that before, haven't we? That the candidate for Fractured Timeline, the one I wrote, is like a Series 11 episode in a way.
Yeah, we've had people say that, but in a good way.
This is what it should have been.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'd love to see the candidate. I think the candidate would work, but I think we need to do what we did with the Ronnie to reintroduce her. I don't think we can have the Ronnie and the candidates if we didn't do the Return of the Ronnie first.
Obviously, it'd be adapted because it wouldn't just be the Doctor and one companion; it'd be the Doctor and three.
Yeah, because it also have to, if they ever did that, they'd also need to not just bring the Ronnie, they have to reintroduce the Ronnie to this generation of viewers because we've never had the Ronnie on in the modern show. I don't think the Ronnie has even been mentioned in the modern show, so that would be something that's they'd have to introduce properly first.
Big Finish need to get on it.
Yeah, but I mean, like for the
just imagine one of the modern revival series Doctors interacting with a new Ronnie.
That'd be very cool. I can imagine.
I think Matt Smith or Capaldi could pull it off more because they're within that era of Gallifrey.
I like to really, although I would like to see 13 with Ronnie. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Next question. What do you think would be your crowning achievement? Now, that's from Summer Visuals VFX. Now
it's very broad, isn't it?
It's a very broad question because it doesn't even just mean it means broadly everything we've ever done
in our life. Should we do this in two parts? Like one for life, one for the Doctor Who's.
Well, I think my crowning achievement so far has been graduating university, because I have autism, and statistically, people with autism graduating university has never really been a very optimistic thing to achieve. But
no.
I'm very proud I've been able to graduate with my degree with a good grade, and I'm just really proud of that. And yeah, I think that's my crowning life achievement, but also Anna's one of my crowning life achievements, because if I didn't say it on this podcast, I probably wouldn't be alive for the next one.
Oh dear.
But what's your crowning life achievement, sir?
I'm in it.
Oh, your apartment.
Yeah, because whilst I would probably also say university, I didn't get on with that uni anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
So whilst I'm really happy to have gotten through, the uni I went to wouldn't let anyone through. I'll never get over the fact that they asked us to revise for an exam, and then the one person who never did anything in the class did it, and the teacher changed their answers so that they got the pass mark, and then went round and had to tweak all of our answers as well. So I found out that some of the answers that they made me change were to wrong answers.
Yeah, that's not.
And yet, when I put up a fight about it, I go, well, hang on a minute. This person who's only in once a month somehow got 92% and never did any revision, but I've got 86%, and I'm here all the time. Their argument was, well, we can always make everyone redo the test again if you want to do that. And I'm like, this is just not good teaching. So as a result, when I finished uni, I felt nothing from it, because people who didn't work hard also passed. And it's not that I'm not trying to be snobbish about it, going, well, yeah, but like genuinely would come in and be like, I don't know what the module is for this term.
Yeah, that's a lot with my uni as well. I think unis have that bit of favoritism and corruption when it comes to their teaching.
Well, it's all to do with funding. It's not to do with actually teaching people. It's to do with the whole funding element. Like going, if more people pass, we'll get more money. And we can try again next year to do better, and then they never do, and then people just get complacent. I'm not going to go into a huge debate about it, because we'll be here forever, but genuinely, for me, my crowning achievement is getting this apartment on a mortgage, because, as you know, Dan, making Waterside and also trying to make The Candidate. Well, you remember, when we were filming The Candidate, I had a panic attack in the time we stayed over.
Yeah, you did.
Because my money had been drained so much from making Waterside and also The Candidate that I only had something like £20 left for the entire month, and I still had to get to work.
Yeah.
And this was like halfway through the month.
Yeah, and
so I was just freaking out. And now, knowing that I'm here in this apartment, which I own 40% of, and I've actually somehow come out with a good credit score and everything like that, I feel very proud of.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, definitely from everything you've been through to get this apartment is a crowning achievement. Because I remember, because I think you stayed with me and Anna when we stayed in London for the filming. It's because you couldn't afford to get to get home from London and get back the following day.
Yeah. I had to sneak in, didn't I? I had to sneak in and sleep on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. You had to act like you're always there.
Well, yeah, I think it's because you gave me, because both of you got given a card each. You had to give me one of the cards, and I had to walk in and use it, and act like I knew where I was going.
Yeah. Like we had to go in separate times to make you see like you were a separate guest from us. Yeah,
because what happened was I think I had gone in first, hadn't I? I think, and you and Anya were sat somewhere else or popped off to go and get a bit of dinner or something.
Yeah, which I found out recently. But by the way, like I found out recently, hotels don't really even care if people sneak in.
No. Well, in all fairness, some do. When I was in Derby about a year ago for Alan's wedding, me, Ollie, and Jamie, me and Ollie had got a hotel room with like 2 single beds in it. But when we came in at about 1 a.m, we brought Jamie along because all the trains got cancelled and he couldn't get back to Manchester. And so he had to stay over but he had nowhere to go. So we said, come into the hotel. When we walked in, Jamie went ahead of us, but we walked in like 30 seconds later with our key, and we took the key card out and went, because you can't go upstairs without a key card. So we went in at the same time as Jamie did, because Jamie called for the lift and then had to wait, and we walked in with it. And then we all got onto the lift, and as the door was closing, the people were trying to stop us.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they were like, who are you with? What's the name? And we're like, we've got cards. And we just said our names. But Jamie didn't say anything. They never came looking for us, and Jamie left in the morning without any problem.
Yeah.
And when we left, there was no problem either. So I think it was just obviously the night shift worrying, because it was like 1 a.m, so they're probably worried. But that was the closest we ever got to being caught by doing anything like that.
Yeah. Sure.
It was a fun night, that.
But
fell asleep half drunk watching Love and Monsters.
I think we're going a bit off topic now. We were saying crowning life achievement, and you just discussed
my crowning life achievement is getting drunk and watching Love and Monsters. And then falling asleep during it.
Brilliant. But crowning achievements in terms of like contents of like could be Overton Audios, Red Manor, or Fractured Timeline.
Oh yeah,
true idea.
Well, my crowning achievement for now is Resurrection Season 4.
And what about you said Waterside?
Oh right, in that case it's Waterside. With the whole of Waterside, with Resurrection being a second. I moan a lot about Resurrection, but I moan a lot because I put so much work into it.
Yeah,
and it just makes me tired. But Waterside was another thing. It will be forever. It's not perfect, but it for me will always be a masterpiece as to how I want to make things if I had a budget.
Yeah, because you put.
And I think I spent overall about 15 grand on getting it made, all 4 seasons.
Damn.
Imagine, mate, I could have moved sooner.
Yeah. Oh man.
But I know that if I'd have moved sooner, if I'd saved my money and moved sooner, I probably would have failed, because I wouldn't. It was really irresponsible. I'll make this very clear now. It was very irresponsible to pay to make 4 series of something with my own money without any external funding. But it taught me a huge amount about money and really humbled me a lot.
Yeah, it has.
To do with money. Like, I'm still sometimes, I always have a little bit of a blip with money. And I always learn from it again. And it's always back and forth. But I will always remember the times where I had nothing.
True.
And remember how awful that was. Yeah. What about you? Well, aside from life, like production wise and everything.
I got a few in mind that like things I've done. I really love the spark. For me, getting the spark off the ground was so difficult, and I felt so good that I finally completed a fan film like in the first episode of my series.
I remember having a conversation with you, and you were talking about cancelling Fractured Timeline.
Was this back like
because this was many years ago.
Yeah,
but it might have been like the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, because you could just not figure out how to start.
Yeah, like it was getting off the ground. That was the difficult part with Fractured Timeline. Like I knew what I wanted to go with. I knew how I wanted it to end, but I just didn't know how to get it off the ground.
And that's why you and Luke did the first episode together, because you knew how you wanted it to go, but you just could not get the beginning sorted.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. Like if I was able to do something like that now, I could. Just back then, I was just so unexperienced with how to start a story, how to start an era, that I just needed help. Yeah. And that's so yeah, getting that off the ground and releasing that, which has been nearly 2 years ago since we released it, and it feels so much longer since the spark came out.
Yeah, I just think COVID ruined a lot of things, because you probably would have had episode 4 and potentially 5 coming out soon.
Definitely.
If it wasn't for Corona.
Yeah.
We would have met up so many more times. Well, I haven't seen you now nearly a year, man.
Yeah, January will be a year since we met each other, since last seen each other.
Yeah.
And coming December.
Yeah, same with and PMG as well. I haven't seen since January.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Chelsea, who plays Julia Breslin. Haven't seen her since January. I haven't seen a lot of people since January.
Yeah, I have.
I saw Pete. I saw Pete briefly in August for a lunch, a socially distanced lunch in August. But I haven't actually met up with any friends really at all this year. It's been mostly audios and lockdown.
Yeah, completely. And
I've not really had a housewarming here. I've not even had a housewarming here yet, and I don't think I ever will.
Oh. Well, as soon as things get better, sir. As soon as things get better, I shall come over and we shall have a small house party together, sir.
Indeed. Like the police are called.
I haven't seen. Things come December. Well, actually, come the end of this month, we wouldn't have seen Luke in a year.
Wow, that does actually oddly feels longer.
Yeah, like that Christmas gathering.
Yeah, I looked at some of the photos from the TARDIS that we did before.
Which also that means that which would also mean that since we took those photos, that was like the last time as well we filmed anything for Fractured Timeline.
Oh my! Don't say that. That was the candidate.
Yeah,
that was from the TARDIS scenes. For the candidate.
Yeah. That means it's been.
I love the way that we're still on the question of crowning achievement, and we've ended up falling into the past.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, for me, it's a tie between a few other things. I love the spark. That's one of my achievements. I cannot. There's one thing that for me is a crowning achievement, but I cannot tell you what. I think I'm gonna say it's the Uncharted Past Volume 4 finale.
Yeah, you can say that. The final episode of Uncharted Past.
Yeah, it's just you'll when you guys hear it, you'll understand why it's such an achievement.
Yeah,
and also for a personal project, that's not Doctor Who related. Bus Stop, my short film, is for me an achievement because that
I think Conjoined was really good.
Conjoined was great, but I wouldn't call it an achievement because
in visual effects it was.
Visual effects wise it was, but ultimately why I put Bus Stop on top is because that is a story I've had in mind for about 2 years before I filmed it, and I really want to do it for our college project. So I went all out. I put a proper budget together. I saved up a lot of money. I think I saved all the birthday and Christmas money I'd gotten just to make that film. And I got to work with an industry professional actor, and I got to work with...
Wasn't he in Game of Thrones?
He was in Game of Thrones, and
nice.
And he really enjoys he really enjoys the film. So to me, that I got to make a film with a professional actor, and
who also approved.
And he approves of the film. It means a lot, and because there's a lot. He was quite skeptical at the beginning because I told him, like, he asked, like, oh, what camera are you using? Using an Arri, a Red? I was like, no, I'm using a Canon 700D. So I took a lot of persuasion to get him on board with the film, but I think when he saw the results from a Canon DSLR, he was very blown away.
Oh, that's good.
All that's tied: the Bus Stop, the Spark, and the Uncharted Past Volume 4 finale.
Next question is: how have you both been during this hectic year in general? And this is from TARDIS Glitch.
Yes. I'm not going to go too much into it because mental health wise, it's not been a good year for me. I stumbled back a lot in terms of mental health. The first lockdown really hit me a lot because for situations that were beyond our control, me and Anna couldn't see each other, which was horrible. It was the worst. Because me and Anna haven't seen each other. Like we stayed apart for 3 months in total.
Yeah.
And to be apart with someone from your fiance for so long,
not very good.
It's just like we actually go into fits of tears sometimes when we're on the phone to each other because because sometimes it's just not enough.
No.
Yeah. So it was a very trying time for our relationship. It was a very trying time. Not in a bad way, just because we just miss each other so much, and it was a very trying time for our mental health. And it was just a trying time because a lot of things were happening at the same time as well as COVID.
Yeah.
I think as well that I'm very one of the things I'm most gutted about is I didn't get to have my graduation. Like I put so much work into university to not have my graduation at the end of it all.
In terms of how I've been, oddly, and this is where we're completely polar opposite on things, Dan. I've been absolutely fine. Because I was still living with family, with me and 4 other people, and because obviously when I was living there, I was in the middle of a field. Nothing was any different from me. It was like, the end. This is going to sound really dark, but the end of Terminator 3.
Yeah.
When they're just in that bunker and they can just hear the world ending outside, but they're not necessarily in it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was for me in a very dark, humoury sort of way. Because for me, everything was... The farm was still working, but they were still working in the farm, maybe a bit less than usual, but they were still working away. We were never seeing cars go by because we were in the middle of a field between a village and a very small town. And then we were just hearing that all the stuff in the cities were shutting down, but I was still driving into I wouldn't take the train, but I was driving. That's the only thing that was different is that we were driving to different construction sites that we were on, as opposed to taking the train. We were still going on the sites because the stupid thing with the government was that they didn't clarify, because construction, millions, not even just millions, billions go into that industry every year that they didn't come up with like an insurance package for it. So as a result, they had to stay open, otherwise they'd lose millions from it anyway. And that's not just the government losing millions, it's the actual contractors and the people who are trying to get the buildings built through the contractors, the clients. They would lose millions from it, and like, or just hundreds and thousands. Big money they would lose. So as a result, they kept working, and because I work for a freelance company as well, we only get paid if we show up on site, or we're not fixed with anybody. We can jump from different sites. So we have to carry on working because we're freelance. And I was seeing all these people, all these. The only thing that bothered me was all the news articles of people saying that construction workers are selfish for not self-isolating. And you're just thinking, or not self-isolating, but going into lockdown, shutting down. I just thought, well, come up with a system that works, that protects their livelihoods, and then we can do it. But we never. The only thing that was different, that we'd go on site once every 10 days, which is why I've been able to finish probably all the audios I've been able to for next year. Other than that, nothing was really too different for me, which I suppose has been lucky for me, but not others,
Yeah. And because it was difficult, because, like, especially with the paranoia when the first lockdown came about. Because it was very scary initially. It is still pretty scary today, but like obviously.
Oh yeah. Like the thing is, it's got to a point where we've gotten used to it, but it is still kind of surreal in its own way. Like, I don't bother now because I'm only about a minute or two walk away from my train station. I don't bother taking off my face mask now because I live, even though I have my own place, it's still part of an apartment building. I still have to wear the mask in the corridors outside because it's a communal space. So I don't bother taking it off until I'm actually in my apartment. And
yeah,
that's just life now. Obviously the only thing that's really started to hit me is that now I'm living alone. When the lockdown kicked in again and I wasn't really seeing anyone, that is when it kicked in. And because I live in more of an urban location where there's actually cars and other buildings and people, and it went deadly quiet again, that was what hit me then. So I suppose that for people who've got used to it, living in more urban locations, are like, oh well, it's the second time running. This is me technically going through the first time.
Yeah, true. I mean, like, I think it's just sort of like, it's not like anything's really changed. Like, COVID is still like, still it's still what it is. But I think we've changed. I think that's the thing, we've changed as people.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I don't know how you feel on this, not to get too deep with it, but I think, to be honest, doing this podcast monthly has kind of helped us because we decided to do this at the end of March, actually, when the first lockdown was actually announced and started. We did this for April. And we did it almost immediately because we had nothing else to make.
Yeah, and it's just because we talked about doing the podcast, and we thought because of COVID we're now indoors a lot more often. We have the time to make it.
I mean, obviously, since lockdown was eased, I know it's sort of come back in a less tougher force this time around than before. But we are sort of struggling a little bit more with time. But like, I'm looking forward to seeing how we do it when things are back to normal,
Yeah, me too. Hopefully soon.
I wonder if it's going to become every 2 months as opposed to every month. But I think a lot of people want us to do weekly podcasts, and I'm like, are you mad?
Oh no. I'm sorry.
It'd be a very short podcast.
Yeah, we could do short podcasts, but we probably not be able to get guests anymore.
No, it'd have to get guests would be incredibly difficult to just get weekly, and then you're thinking about all the editing time with it as well. And monthly is much more easier to manage.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, so
shall I move on, because we I think that was just
we've got 3 more questions left, and then we've got to discuss the Uncharted Past Christmas special.
Exactly. All right. When you're making a story, do you storyboard it?
Visually, I didn't storyboard the candidate.
Yeah, I don't really. I do want to start storyboarding, because I did do it for university projects, and it's helped me a lot.
I don't find it helps me. I draw it and I'm like, that's what it could look like. But I'm realistically just thinking, yeah, but anything can happen on these days. Like, obviously, with something like The Candidate, where it's fixed, we could do that. But in my head, I already knew kind of what I wanted it to roughly look like, and I just make it up on the spot. That's just what I do. Anyway.
It's mainly to help because when I'm filming, obviously I'm in front of the camera, so I would like to have storyboards just to show and work with my DP just to show them like what I envision, so that they're not trying to guess what I want and not me not have to tell them like a million things, like a million different ways like how you do a shot. You can just look at that. It's like, okay, so this is what I want, but what if I did it this way? Just to use as a template, just so I don't have to worry about it. Because the main struggle for me with Fractured Timeline, besides episode 3, because we had Connor, was for the first 2 episodes is I was constantly worrying about camera. I was constantly worrying about the angles. So it was so freeing of an experience to have Connor be director and DP for episode 3, because it meant I did not have that worry whatsoever.
I always showed you the shots afterwards. Like anything, if you were ever worried about how a shot looked, I'll just show you it.
Yeah, but
but in terms of you're more talking on the more technical of the camera being used, rather than what it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, is it light balanced properly? Is it focused? Is it etc. Is it it's not too overexposed?
Yeah,
this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Also, I didn't mention that the next 3 questions are from Type 40 Cosplay. So to summarize, unless it's Connor, I will not use storyboards because I trust Connor.
Well, thank you.
So basically, I need.
And I am mostly an audio person right now, so I don't need to. But when I did Waterside, I never did. I just made it up on the spot. I always knew.
But you did have like an idea for scenes.
Oh yeah. When I'd write it, I'd always imagine it and how it would look.
Yeah.
But it never ended up looking at how it looked in my head there. But I always got the shot I wanted. It's just obviously you imagine how people are going to be dressed and they're going to look and what kind of lens you're going to use. When you realise you've only got 1 or 2 lenses to work with, so you can't get the same shot. But you can aim for the same sort of angle. Obviously the movement, you're imagining it from a status of like, what you've seen shot on TV and in movies. You can't do that. All you've got is your hands and the camera.
Yeah.
So you have to try and make do, but you try and match your vision. And that's what I try and do. Best I can anyway. So next question. Again from Type 40 Cosplayer, we've already covered that. Other than Doctor Who, what kind of developments have there been on original projects? Well, obviously you made Conjoined for Halloween, didn't you?
Yeah, and I do want to make more shorts like that where I just make a one note, because what I've sort of called it now is like a 1-page script, because Conjoined, although being 4 minutes long, is a 1-page script. So that was very interesting because I wrote down what was happening, because I like to let images breathe. That's why it was so much longer. So I like to do more of that. I like to do more experimental shorts. That's because I've been in university for 3 years. I really haven't had creative freedom when it comes to shorts for the last while. So I might be doing more. I do have a few more short film ideas, but nothing I really feel comfortable with disclosing right now. But so yeah, I have a few things in development. But Connor, you've been working on a few original projects, not just audio wise, but you've also made a short film that has recently just finished post production.
Oh, well, technically it's still in post. It's been sent off to our American sounds editor.
Oh, fair enough.
We started filming it back in October last year, and it was made as something quite relaxed. For those of you who know about my Midmatter Productions YouTube channel, we've made a couple of films. There was one called Against Time, and which came out in 2018. There was another one before that called Prototype, which came out in September 2017, and then that was directed by Nick Miles, who played William Anderson in Waterside. We made another one that started filming last October, but it was very relaxed. And then lockdown hit and we couldn't film any of it anymore. But we were able to quickly meet up at the end of July and do some more filming. but there's one or two scenes that one of them is shot in October and the other one is shot in July. And ironically, it's just around the corner from where I'm living now, and they've still got the bloody Christmas lights in the tree. They kept Christmas lights in the tree sparkling all year long.
We need that little bit of hope.
Yeah, so as a result, the continuity was phenomenal because we were in July filming and all the actors were dressed for winter. So they were melting, but the fact is the high street we were filming in still had some of its Christmas lights in the tree. And as a result, it gives off the effect that it's still Christmas. And I was just so thankful. But yeah, that's currently having sound done to it. We were hoping for it to be out this year, but we doubt it now because we've got a lot of ADR to do. But it all needs to be, because the sound editor, he's a professional. He wants everyone to meet in one day and record together. And we're like, that's not possible right now. Mm. So he's doing the music, which he would usually do after the ADR's been done, but it's impossible to get everyone there in one place. So until lockdown eases, of which I've just seen the news today, it's supposed to be ending on the 2nd of December here, but apparently lockdown 2 is ending, but we're now in tougher tier 3 restrictions, which to me just still sounds like a continuation, but just a difference in title.
Yeah, exactly.
So the film is going to be delayed purely based on the fact of we can't get people in to do the ADR. Everyone's offered to obviously record remotely like we would do for any other audio drama, but this sound editor is very much specific. He wants very specific sound quality because it needs to be consistent for the film, because it is not just going to be going on YouTube. He also makes them into DVDs and they get sold and they get shown at screenings. I've got the DVD of Hunted, which we made 3 to 4 years ago now, and this one's going to be made into a DVD as well. So there's that. I've also made Fragments, filmed the first one a year ago, filmed the next one with you in January, and I was meant to film the third one with John in the summer, but obviously that hasn't happened, and I always aim to get all 3 out by the end of the year. So I might have to try and film one with me in it.
Which also it'd be interesting experiment, especially with your new place, because you can work with lighting a bit more.
That's true. Yeah, but I also made one, because this is only the second series of Fragments. The last one I made was in 2015, and the last episode of Fragments for this 2015 series was also filmed with just me in the place I was living in when I was there by myself, and it was filmed around Christmas.
We can make that.
And now I'm here again. I'm here again 5 years later, but instead I'm here in my own place, and I'm like, I can only think about one thing, which is possibly, because the theme of this series has been unity, and the January one, the one that we shot that came out in like January sort of time, I think it was January or March, that one was about friends disagreeing politically, but then also just having friends who are there to support you no matter what. And then obviously your one with Anya was about that one was about
loved one taking his own life.
Yeah, but also about, there was meant to be an element of unity there, but I think it was the idea of...
I think it's sort of like, because the only thing keeping him alive was the unity between themselves, but in the end his demons got too great. But he left her a note just to know you're the only thing that was keeping me alive for all this time. Yeah,
but I'm trying to think that maybe the last one I do, if it's just me doing it, I might as well do it about lockdown.
Yeah. Actually, I have an idea. I do have an idea. We could discuss it after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so overall, I think original projects have been pretty good this year, ironically, considering the circumstances.
Yeah, 100%.
Indeed.
Right, now we've got the last question.
Right.
We've been spending an hour on these questions.
All right. Last one. So here we go. Last one from Type 40. If next year ain't too bad, would you consider doing a visual story featuring both your doctors?
Yes. I think we already mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were thinking about it for quite a while, and we've had that question put to us a lot. There are plans, it's just those are still plans because of how the world is right now.
Yeah, but...
and obviously, Dan, you're stuck in Ireland at the moment. You're not stuck, you're at home, but like you can't come over and visit, and I can't come over and visit you either.
Yeah, but I think as well, I think the specifics of the question, do you mean like visual stories of our doctors respectively or together? I would like us to do something together.
Oh, what? Oh, what? You mean like a multi-doctor?
Yeah, I would like us to do something together. That'd be pretty cool. But I'd really would like to see you with a standalone story.
Yeah, depends on which companion I could get.
But in all fairness, I would love to see a visual Julian and Cravat story.
Yeah, I think personally I was immediately jumping to a Carly one because the actress, now that I've moved, the actress who plays Carly is actually like about a 10-minute drive from me.
That is also true. So it is all up in the air. It's just like once COVID has passed or has become, it's become manageable.
A distant memory.
Well, when it becomes manageable to us that we can film under normal circumstances again. So, yeah, I like to definitely. There's a lot more live action visual stories coming from my Doctor. We still have the rest of Fracture Timeline, which people have been saying to me, is it still happening? Have you stopped doing visual stories? Like, I'm still doing visual stories. It's just because of COVID I couldn't, and we're still planning to go full steam ahead for next year to try and get it all done.
Yeah, you've got about a month to sort that out now, Dan. I'll be keeping an eye on you. But yeah, in essence, that's all the questions now.
Yeah, that's all the questions. So,
and now that I notice it's now the end of the Q&A and it's the end of the year. And what else is coming at the end of this year?
Oh yeah, there's
the Uncharted Past Christmas special.
Yes, the Beast of Christmas.
My mum and I are putting together a little Christmas dinner. We were wondering if you and your dad would like to join us.
Might be a tough sell.
Come on, it's just dinner. It's not the end of the world.
To Amber it is.
Why does this matter so much to her anyways? Whoever pulled us through the vortex is something or someone with advanced knowledge in space mechanics. December 23rd, 1863, so exactly 150 years from our time.
Why so specific?
Could be what's on the newspaper.
22 deaths due to eyewitness reports of a beast that lives in the streets.
I'm Detective Declan McGuinness from Scotland Yard. I'm here to investigate into the victims of the beast.
Didn't think that was in their interest.
Well, you thought wrong. He is drained of everything, as if he was drained of time itself.
Doctor, the beast! I seen it!
Get away from him now!
So yes, the Beast of Christmas, aka your waking nightmare, because I keep asking you to do stuff when you're so.
Yes, I was thinking about that earlier today. I was like, do I mention to Dan that he brought this on me last minute? But I thought, well, no, he mentioned it to me in July and said, can we do it for Christmas? And even then I was stressed. Little did I know that you would test me further.
we talked about the Halloween special in depth. We don't have to bring that up.
Yes.
But like this one is more innocent in comparison.
Yes, you gave me 5 months to do this one, not 28 days.
In fairness, I think the Christmas special, especially this special, adds a lot more to the characters, especially a lot more over the themes we're going to be following with the later volumes. So, I feel like in terms of everything, the Christmas special is something that we definitely need to do, especially with Uncharted Past ending. I think we would need to do something for Christmas with the family elements that we've presented with these characters.
Well, even then, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but this was also conceived in a time when, basically, when lockdown kicked in March, you and I stopped working on Volume 3 immediately because we suddenly had time.
Yeah.
And we got Volume 3 done within a month and a half.
Exactly, and
because everybody was suddenly free, and because the world or the government hadn't sorted themselves out yet, a lot of people were suddenly free and had time to do it. But then when Volume 4 came into recording, we got a lot of that actually recorded, except for certain people who were still working through the pandemic and lockdown. And we didn't actually finish it until really recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Christmas special was born out of the fact that Uncharted Past was actually left in a bit of limbo for about 4 months.
Yeah, I think it's because we're progressing a lot more faster. We've had a lot more time than we expected. So I think that's why I suggested, do you think we could squeeze in the Christmas special during this production?
I remember what the original plan was. The plan was, if COVID had never happened, we were going to start working on Volume 3 in May or June of this year, and whilst you were trying to get Fractured Timeline pushed forward. So I think the original plan was that you were going to have episode 4 shot, and then work on Volume 3, and then go on the next episode of Fractured Timeline, and then go to Volume 4. And then you'd be primed for everything else going forward.
Yeah.
But then when lockdown happened, Fractured Timeline just got pushed all the way to the back.
Yeah. And now we were left with just doing Uncharted Past, which our original schedule, you're saying we originally intended to get everything done for start recording by May, and then summer would have been the time to sort of get it all refined and edited. But we managed to get it all done before summer.
We did. We got it all done by almost the beginning of May.
And as of recently, we just finalized the last episode of Volume 4.
But so as a result, we did Volume 3 so quickly that we're like, well, if we're on a roll, we might as well do Volume 4. And Volume 4 was written super quickly. And then you were all of a sudden like, oh, that's it. Well, what do we do now?
Yeah, because I think what university has done to me is that I've become creatively, unsatisfied with how my last year of university was, so much so that I just managed to get all the scripts done for Uncharted Past Volumes 3 and 4 done super quick.
Yeah. And then I came out with my episode of Uncharted Past quite quickly. I did that in a night. Yeah, and then my episode of Volume 4, I also did in one evening as well. But they were very still far apart.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just nice because we were just able to. Because we just had a nice steady production of these stories throughout this year. I suppose that's the one good thing came out of COVID. We managed to get it done in super good time.
Yeah, but then of course at the same time, there is a catch-22 with it. We got it done in super quick and good time, but then as a result, Fractured Timeline's taken a massive hit.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing.
I mean, I'm still glad. I think overall, whilst it was very stressful, I'm glad that, with the Halloween special, you were able to get a Fractured Timeline special out as well, because at least, that era is still present. It's not forgotten.
Yeah, I think that's one thing as well that I wanted to do with the Halloween specials, was to show the connection between both eras, but as well to let people know that we haven't forgot about the Doctor and Maggie, that this is still something we're thinking about.
Exactly. Yeah. What's your favourite moment from the Christmas special?
I really like the ending. I really do like the ending. It's a nice Christmassy ending.
I agree. I quite like it's still got a very Christmassy element to it, because I'm sure you can tell from the cover art. Anyway, the cover art's been shown.
Yeah, it has been shown. I think they showed it back
announced quite a little while ago, but it's basically set in the past, and it's in Victorian times. Victorian Christmases have always got that certain aesthetic to them.
Yeah, I love Victorian. I love period dramas, especially Victorian Christmas period dramas.
How often has the Irish Doctor had stories in the past?
I know that.
Like in that sort of past. I mean, obviously, I know that In the Blood was in the 90s.
Well, there's going to be a few in the coming volumes, but I think this is the first time we went proper into the past.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to everyone's reactions to the Christmas special. It's going to have a lot more of the themes going forward for Volume 3 and 4. So keep an eye out for that. And
I think the specials act like a good interlude.
Yeah, it is. It introduces a lot of themes, some characters that will be reoccurring as well in the coming volumes. So indeed. So keep an eye out for that on the 23rd of December. That'll be coming out.
On the Fractured Timeline YouTube
Yeah, it's coming
channel,
out on the Fractured Timeline YouTube channel first. In fact,
and then it's coming out on Overton Audios on New Year's Day, because otherwise it's going to clash with Resurrection, which was the other issue I had when Dan asks me things last minute.
You love me, really? Despite how much you complain, you love me, really? But
yeah, like, I mean, but honestly, we're going to think about as well, aren't we going to take new, like, in terms of what's happening in the new year, moving on from Uncharted Past, we're going to be, aren't we going to be taking new photographs for the Overton Audios podcast?
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of a visual change to the podcast cover art.
When we meet up again, we'll finally do a new one where we're actually stood together.
Yeah, I actually need to visualize it. Like we're stood back to back with the logo and the title on one side.
I was thinking you've probably seen this when we've been on Skype before, but when I've moved, I've got these 2 seats now. We could get a shot of both of us sat down talking.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And then we could just use that. But because at the moment we're having to use our doctor stance, but of course your one is of you as the younger Irish doctor, and the one of me is one that's nearly 2 years old. So it'd be good to get an updated one, because I mean I know we're on the 9th podcast, but ultimately, it's a new year and we kind of want to start off with a bit of a bang. Don't we?
Definitely, we definitely do. It was weird as well because I'm not in the mindset of Christmas yet, but yeah, this is coming out in December. Yeah, so we're going to have to end this by saying Merry Christmas.
Oh my god.
I'm not ready. It's November.
No, it's weird. It's weird because we've already had a kind of, this year has kind of been a year that's taken so much. But then obviously the last couple of weeks since the last podcast came out, they had the election and all of a sudden things were looking brighter.
Yeah, Trump's not been elected out, thank God.
And then there's a vaccine as well, so you never know what can happen. I mean, one day we might be able to record the podcast together.
That'd be really cool. We are planning to be out more often in the coming months, and especially in 2021, so that would definitely be an opportunity for us to record together.
Yeah, definitely. And because that's the thing, the only, out of all 9 podcasts now, and probably we're going on about 14, 15 hours maybe of podcast, there's only a 30-minute segment where I'm talking to someone in the same room.
Indeed.
And that was PMG, or Peter M. George, as other people know him for, Time Travel 2016. But it would be good if you and I actually met up, because it would be interesting to see how the conversation changes. We won't have to sync up anymore, and as well as that, we'll be talking in person, so it might create a whole new and different dynamic.
Exactly, yeah. It's just the one thing the COVID did. This podcast did come in the wake of COVID, but hopefully when COVID passes, we can, this will evolve to we can be together and record together, because it'd be nice to
be together forever.
Indeed, because I would like us to do this in person, because there is a bit of I think with doing this over Skype that we're missing that humanly elements.
Yes, there is a disconnect.
There's a bit of a disconnect because I don't know. There's just, to me, it's better doing it in person. So hopefully next year that we
I mean that's another thing as well, is for people listening, when we do these podcasts, we're not on webcam.
No,
we can't see one another because we're obviously worried that the internet's going to crash. So we try and keep it as basic as possible so we can still hear one another. And one day, yes, we might decide to do webcam, but it'll be at our own risk.
Indeed, yes.
But yeah. Indeed.
So this is the last podcast of 2020. It's weird because we made this in April, still when things were feeling very fresh. But we're now starting to see sort of like a light at the end of all this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I'm optimistic.
We'll be there soon.
I'm optimistic for what 2021 has to come for us. I don't think it'll be. I'm not going to assume just yet it's going to be a better year, because that's been the common theme of New Year's for me the last couple of years, that it can't be as worse as last year, and it ends up somehow being worse. So let's just go and So to me, I'm just going in with some optimism, but I feel like you just keep an open mind because you don't know what's going to happen.
True. I would also say that, rather than say I hope it's a better year in general, try and make it a personal thing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like not trying to be selfish and saying that and not hoping that everyone has a pleasant year. But I can't say bugs. It sounds like I'm going, I hope everyone has a good year, but not really. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that, if you're trying to hope, if you hope that, hopefully we have a better year next year, and then you find out and that's something else that's happened in the world, it will drag you down. You have to try and think that you hope the world is better, but ultimately you want to try and give yourself the best year possible as well for your own sake.
Yeah.
And now that realistically, I've moved into this place at the end of the year. The real test for me, as far as I see it, will be next year for me.
Yeah.
I'm still settling in now, and next month, or this month as of when this is released, will also still be a very big test for me. The big, me settling in, but then the actual, living here for a year, January to December, will be an interesting
Indeed, sir. And for me, I came out of university this year. This is my first time being a graduate, so next year it'll be me just being trying to find my place. Really, what am we doing?
Yeah.
There's also the wedding, because me and Anna are getting married in 2022, so 2021 is the big planning year for the wedding. So it's going to be a tricky year in general. There's going to be.
Will you be dressing up as the Irish doctor? It suits a wedding, and I'll dress up as Cravat.
To much of Anna's to dismay, I may have to. She may say no at the wedding.
She may kindly decline.
She may kindly decline if I do. But yeah.
Although it would suit, our costumes.
Yeah, it would.
Our prospective doctors would actually suit really well.
Indeed. We're always dressed for a wedding.
I'm always dressed for the occasion.
Always dressed for the occasion. But yeah, that's the way to end. That's how you end this podcast, with the TV master quote.
Indeed, happy 2020.
Yes, happy 2020. Oh my god, it's the master's whole times.
Oh my god.
Could you imagine? Because all this had to do with the master in some way.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the final podcast of the year. We may or may not, depending on how we sort this out, have a little bit of a rebrand for the podcast in terms of cover art. We'll see.
Yeah. Because
obviously this coming month will be busy for everyone. It's Christmas. It's bound to be busy.
Yeah.
So overall, thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. I've been really happy with the amount of engagement there's been on this podcast. A lot of people listen to them all, fully. And I'm very surprised. So if you've made it this far, people who are listening, thank you very much for sticking around and, what's the word I should say? Putting up with us, putting up with our antics, and obviously the amount of rambling that goes on. This one has been more rambly than usual. You and I are only used to talking for half an hour per podcast now. And now we're at a point where we've just been talking for nearly 2 hours.
Yeah. Which is our normal Tuesday, but not for these people. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just because we usually have guests, and and this is the first time we've properly just chatted away for over an hour since the first one.
Nearly 2 now. Yeah, because we obviously had sweet greetings. Be our first one. That was just us introducing ourselves and how we got planned. But then I'm surprised we even got the podcast to be almost as... We're about 16 minutes away from it being the longest podcast, and yet it's only us two. Do you remember when we started this and we thought, we'll make each podcast about 45 minutes each?
Yeah, that didn't work out.
No, but either way, next year's podcasts are going to be different because realistically, because it's all coming out weekly, there'll only be 1 or 2 releases per month to really talk about. Next month, the only thing that's being released out the whole month is the Young Doctor Chronicles Volume 3, and obviously Beast of Christmas is coming out, but that's an Overton Audios release. So that one will probably have a little bit more leeway to talk about other things.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll figure out at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, shall we wrap this up?
Indeed. I hope everyone has a nice Christmas and a good New Year.
Indeed.
With everything that's been going on this year, I think we all owe it to ourselves to make this the best Christmas, best holiday season in general for us all as possible.
Definitely.
I know with some people with social distancing, if lockdown measures, it might be difficult. We don't know what the future or December or what lies there for us. But let's just all hope we can all be with people that we want to be with on Christmas or during the holiday season.
Indeed.
And
of course, thank you very much for the support on our projects, and of course on the podcast as well, because it's one of the easiest things to make, but it's a nightmare to edit.
Indeed.
So, but yeah, thank you very much to everyone for their support this year. Next year, as I've mentioned, a bit more relaxed in terms of the releases, as you know, we all get tired. And I hope you appreciated the amount of things that came out. And yes, I bid thee a farewell.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
And as a Christmas treat for all of you listeners, the exclusive release of the trailer for the final volume of the Young Doctor Adventures. Overton Audios presents
Daleks.
Like that Time Lord said.
Something we've both been avoiding for a long time. The Time Lords tried to warn me before it got out of hand. I've ignored their warning for too long, and now my hand's being forced.
Oh, and I suppose you've had all the life experiences in a year. A year? That is nothing.
I've done things you couldn't believe.
Try me.
Your move, Doctor.
You must be exterminated!
Excuse me?
Exterminate!
You brought me home. Something's wrong here. This doesn't feel like home.
It appears the Doctor has discovered our operation. You know what to do.
The Daleks mentioned something about affecting the population.
The human population, yeah!
Hazel, that's genocide.
You destroyed an entire dimension!
I know, but what else could I do?
Also, consider where you come from. You can still be the Doctor.
We are in a crisis and must flee.
Oh, no, you don't. Not to the past.
No! Don't you dare!
Doctor Who, The Young Doctor Adventures, Volume 3, begins the 9th of January 2021 at 12 p.m.